In this video, we're talking audio, but here's the thing. Audio is quite subjective. As someone who grew up in the iPod era, many people, including myself, were quite content blasting lossy MP3s through tinny distorted earbuds, or through the aux jack of any available stereo at max volume with bass enhancement mode on. But these days, I'm more into accurate audio reproduction, and while I'm no expert, I like to think I know what sounds good. These are the Little British Monitors Mark II, produced by Simon, the owner of British company AudioSmile. And, well, as far as monitors go, they're absolutely tiny, but there's nothing tiny about their sound. Let's get started. How's it going, guys? Angus here from Maker's Muse, and reviewing speakers might seem a strange departure from what you usually see on this channel, but I'm actually a big nerd for high-end audio, having produced electronic music for years, and I'm also a big fan of electronics and DIY projects, and these speakers are available as a kit, so they're very much that. But what makes them so special? Well, first I feel it's important to explain what a monitor actually is. As I mentioned, audio is incredibly subjective, and some people prefer more treble, high frequencies, while other people love that emphasized bass punch, and many headphones and speakers on the market are tweaked in such a way to emphasize a certain frequency or color the sound. Monitors, however, are purpose engineered to be as flat as possible. The intention here is to reproduce audio as accurately as possible from the source, something which is critical for music production, but also incredibly important for video editing, sound design, and for lack of a less wanky term, listening to music in as pure as a form as possible, the way the original artist actually intended. In order to achieve this, monitors need a wide but flat frequency response and minimal distortion or unwanted frequencies creeping in, and the choice of drivers, amplification circuitry, and physical design all play a role. I have no clue where I'd even start trying to engineer a speaker because, as you can imagine, it's incredibly difficult but also can get pretty expensive. Let me be clear though, although these do have Bluetooth connectivity, they're not your average Bluetooth speaker, so let's go over their specs. To start, these things are tiny compared to active studio monitors that I'm used to playing with, only 12 by 12 by 20 centimeters tall, weighing around 3 kilos a pair. Active, by the way, means the amplifiers are built into the speakers themselves. In this case, there's a master and a slave, and these have a fully active crossover with a dedicated amplifier for each driver. And they really are tiny. These are my Pioneer 5-inch studio monitors, and you can see just how much of a difference there is in the size. I recently built specially designed steel wings on my desk to support them, but you can see how with these, you can squeeze them in a much smaller space, even with their specially designed stands. Both the Pioneer and the Little British Monitors use A/B or AB class amplifiers, which is kind of a big deal when it comes to audio quality. Many modern budget amps and most Bluetooth speakers on the market use Class D amplifiers instead, which are incredibly efficient compared to AB, but tend to compromise on audio reproduction, particularly at higher frequencies. For the Little British Monitors though, efficiency is way down the list of considerations, so they're powered by a large 15-volt DC power brick and have this huge heatsink fitted to the back to keep the circuitry cool inside. Construction materials are somewhat unusual, with the cabinet being made from CNC cut birch plywood, 9mm thick. The reasoning behind this is, and I quote, "The BBC Research Department studied many materials and concluded that birch plywood dissipates structural borne energy faster than any other. The Little British Monitor is therefore built from 9mm birch plywood, cut on CNC machinery, and assembled with traditional joinery techniques." I left mine with this raw finish, but honestly, I somewhat regret it, especially with this little filling part here. I think that'd look really schmick with a veneer or even a stain, especially with the pre-installed faux leather fronts. The back panels are thick laser-cut stainless steel, and the internal geometry is constructed from MDF. Airflow and chamber design is a huge factor in speaker response, and again, one that I don't fully understand. But the Little British Monitor employs transmission line based loading, which is this little path inside from the speaker driver to the little outlet here. Simon achieved the final result through much trial and error apparently, but the resulting path really does have a sizable effect on the audio reproduction. It's really quite impressive. So, is this a difficult kit to put together? Well, no, but you'll need to be comfortable around a soldering iron, and patience is key, as there are many steps involved which must be followed in sequence and correctly. For example, screwing up the cabinet is critical to prevent any air leaks, which will ruin the final result. In fact, keeping the cabinet airtight is so important that silicone is required to seal in the drivers, and this weird sort of rubber blue tack stuff fills in any holes left by the switches and plugs. It's really important to make sure there is no air leaks. I took my time assembling the kit, but a casual weekend would be more than enough time, keeping in mind you need to leave it for the glue or silicone to dry at several stages along the way. I did make one small mistake in my build, but nothing that affects functionality, luckily. As mentioned, these monitors have Bluetooth connectivity, which thankfully can be completely isolated when not in use if you don't want to use it, but the module chosen is one of the best available, so you can expect really good results over Bluetooth if you want to use them that way. It's just kind of tacked into the transmission line with that rubber blue tack stuff, which I thought was a little bit odd, but otherwise it's a fine assembly process. Once assembled, Simon provides some handy test files and a run-in file to bring them up to speed and ensure there's no air leaks. Again, really important. And it's noted to pay attention and listen for, and I quote, unpleasant chaffing or farting sounds. And, well, I did actually hear some. It turns out I didn't fully tighten the screws in one of the drivers at the front, and that tiny detail was enough to let some air through and made a huge difference in the sound quality, so don't skip that part. You can also put together these little isolating stands to hold the monitors and prevent unwanted resonances through your table. The metal and plastic sandwich idea is pretty neat and does indeed deaden vibrations, and they assemble okay, but feel a little underdesigned to me, and getting them perfectly squared up with a table was a little trial and error. So, how do they sound? Well, before I show you my side-by-side comparison, I need to cover the price. The Little British Monitor Mark II kits cost £369, or roughly 470 US, or 650 Australian dollars. It's a fair chunk of change indeed, but keep in mind these are specially designed studio monitors. They're not run-of-the-mill speakers, so they should be compared as such to similar products, such as the Pioneer 5-inch monitors, providing they actually do provide that frequency response that they promise. So here's a side-by-side comparison with one of my tracks between the Little British Monitors Mark II, including Bluetooth mode, and my much larger, to be fair, Pioneer 5-inch studio monitors, and my retro Bluetooth speaker with a very cheap budget Bluetooth module in it. You won't be able to perceive it in the same way I can, but let's find out. So, conclusion time. What do I think of the Little British Monitor Mark IIs? Well, they are quite small, so I didn't really know what to expect in terms of audio quality, and honestly, they blew me away. Especially the clarity of the highs, the higher frequencies. Again, I don't know how well it comes across in the clips, but they are so crystal clear with the bass not muddying things up. And like with my mixers, I've heard things in those mixers that I haven't really heard before. Even with my Pioneer speakers, they are really good monitors, but maybe the bass is a little bit too emphasized for how I've set them up. These though, maybe the tweeter is just a little bit better. I'm not really sure, but they are really clear, especially in the highs. But the overall listening experience was way beyond what I expected from something so small, especially the loudness as well. They can get really loud if you want them to. And the Bluetooth functionality is fantastic if you just have your phone, you want to blast some music through it instead of having to set them up to a computer like traditional active monitors. So that is a really nice feature to have, and I'm really happy you can just turn it off. Now, in terms of the price, look, they're not cheap. If you just after loud Bluetooth speaker, they're not going to be for you. But if you're comparing these to other active monitors, active studio monitors that have that wide but flat frequency response, then the price starts to make a bit more sense, especially considering the size in terms of fitting it into a compact studio setup, because the 5 inches are quite large. But these really do fill a sort of almost like a niche of small but high quality studio monitors. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you found this video interesting. There'll be links below to the Little British Monitors Mark II if you're interested in picking them up. A big thanks to Simon for sending over these monitors for me to check out here on Makers Muse. And full disclosure, no money's changed hands. These were sent to me free of charge for a purpose of review and my own unbiased opinion, and that's what I've covered in this video. So thanks for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, maybe consider subscribing to Makers Muse, where that's my aim to empower your creativity through technology. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.